This is the course, and most of the videos of this course are uploaded in the YouTube. But this time I have changed a lot of things in this course. So the videos in the YouTube may be helpful in one way, but otherwise, I will not be repeating the same stuffs which are there in the previous videos. So these are going to be a different videos, and the content is totally different. Okay, so with a new package or a better flavor, I am going to start this course, which will be more interesting for the students, at the same time more, um, what to say, we can say that this is going to be more entertaining, at the same time more knowledgeable course. Okay, so let us start this course. Embedded systems and designs. What are the course overview, expectations, and the syllabus? Because this is first part. So by this course, I believe after completing this course, each of you, okay, those who are going to show a bit of, what to say, interest in this course, will be able to interface microcontrollers with variety of analog and digital input and output devices. Okay, first thing, you should be able to interface microcontrollers with variety of analog and digital input and output devices. This will be the first target. Second, you will be able to program a microcontroller and implement closed loop kind of automation control. Closed loop means feedback kind of thing, that okay, check this system, if it has achieved that target, no, okay, again check this system, and keep on checking until unless we have reached that particular control or the level or not. Okay, this kind of feedback kind of systems we can design using the things that we will cover in this course. You will be able to write decent error free embedded C programs for the microcontrollers. At the same time, you should be able to troubleshoot or find the bugs in the codes, decode the bugs, okay, by using embedded C, and analyze a problem. For example, suppose tomorrow you go to a company and they give you a problem. So first thing is to analyze the problem. Second, determine which microcontroller is the most appropriate to use, and then design and develop an embedded system from scratch. Scratch means from zero. Even if assume the company or anyone is not providing you any kind of data related to that, just you have the data sheet, then in that case, how can you start designing and developing your own embedded system? Suppose tomorrow you want to develop your own uh, wristwatch, or your own communication based system, or your own network. Okay, in that case, how can you develop those embedded systems using embedded C from scratch, from zero? Okay, so these are the targets which I am going to expect from this course, and I believe after completing this course, if not all, most of these points will be achieved after this course. Okay, so please show some interest, and I believe you will be able to feel that this course is going to help you in embedded systems. After this course, you will be definitely very much enabled to sit in a decent interview with any embedded systems company. Okay, now what are the required acquisitions? What are the things that I expect that you should have with you? Textbooks, ebooks I will share it with you. Okay, and other resources from internet which I will be sharing with you time to time. Okay, so we'll be definitely going back and forth to textbooks, sometimes ebooks, and of course we will be moving into some of the internet's websites which I believe they will provide you genuine and very uh, knowledgeable things. Okay, it is not that you go to each and every website and you will get all the detailed information. No, Many of the websites are giving only superficial information with which you cannot build anything. So there are many YouTube bloggers, YouTube creators, which who are actually working in the hardware, and I will definitely will be sharing you all the details of those people. Okay, whom I follow, and I found very interesting and as well as very knowledgeable person. Okay, so we'll be going through that, and of course, if possible, you can buy this particular microcontroller board from Texas Instruments. I have given you the link, and you can download this particular software. I will tell you how to download and what are the process to download this software for our course. Okay, IARIDE. And then, of course, last but not the least, I need to have at least students who have determination, focus, and enthusiasm to learn embedded system. Until unless you have the enthusiasm to learn this particular subject, you will not be interested to learn it, or you will be finding all the lectures boring. But if you have any kind of small enthusiasm to learn or to know how to start with zero and design your own embedded system, or tomorrow it may be even helpful for those who actually want to start a startup that they want using hardwares. In that case, they can go for this kind of courses. Okay, so please show some determination, focus, and enthusiasm. Okay. First question that should come to your mind is, what is an embedded system? Okay, so embedded system is integration of many things, especially many electronic things as well as software parts also. So first of all, integration of a decent power supply. So I will show you what decent power supply means and what are the things that an engineer should know about a decent power supply when he is designing an embedded system. Okay, so decent power supply. Then calibrated sensors. You can purchase a sensor from a market which may cost you 100 rupees or 200 rupees maximum. But the same sensors, after calibration, that same sensor may cost maybe 5,000 or 10,000 rupees, because in sensors world the most important thing is calibration. Okay, I will come to that part. I will discuss you why calibration is the most important part and how it actually enhances the price of any small cheap sensor. That sensor may cost you 10 or 15 rupees, but after calibration that may cost you thousands of rupees. Okay, precise actuators. Anyone? What is the meaning of this particular word, actuators?
I don't
Sensor,
know.
sensors are input. Okay, input devices. Sensors will provide you the input. Okay, they may be digital or they may be analog. So sensors are this. Actuators are mostly motors. Okay, or any hardware which gives you an output. Mostly these are outputs. Okay, output devices, and mostly motors. Motors, they have a huge family. Okay, motors are DC motor, AC motor, steppered, geared, servo, and you name it. There are all sort of motors, which motors can have its own subject, I believe. This can be a subject rather than a topic. It can be a huge subject, motors. There are so many things that you can think about motors and that you can explore in the motors. Okay, so actuators, mostly motors. Precise actuators. Why we are saying precise actuator? Can you give me an example why actuator should be precise? Anyone? Can you give me any example where you need a motor, okay, and that should be very precise? बोल सकते हो, you can speak, don't type. Okay, what is this precision means here? Anyone? Give me a simple example where if you have a wrong precision or if you make a mistake in the actuators, then the things may collapse or it may be more dangerous.
That we want
For
more accuracy.
vehicles,
Hmm?
That we
vehicles,
want more accuracy. जो हम डिजाइन कर रहे हैं वो मोटर को.
Look,
Like
look. Wait
or
a second. Okay, wait a second.
self-driving cars, like for
Wait a second.
self-driving cars.
Wait a second. Uh, Try to speak more technically. Okay, when we are speaking, okay, don't give a generalized answer. Prefer these things are very important in your technical life. For example, I believe Mohit Khandel was answering the question. In that sense, in that you said, okay, more precise movement. Okay, that's the question itself, and the answer do not have any technical number. They require high precision. It's the question itself. When we say precision, what do you mean by precision in technical terms? इसका word का meaning क्या? What is the meaning of precision in technical terms? This particular thing.
Sir, if a
How much close we
motor
are
is
to the
designed for a voltage of 3.2 or 3.1 volt something, and it can't take more than that. It can't be like it
Okay,
can
in
take.
terms of voltage, it is very important that it should have some minimum. Rather, motors are not dependent on only voltage. Rather, we can say they are more dependent on power. All the motors are mostly work with the power term. Okay, voltage is important, but at the same time the current also. Apart from the power, that means electrical part, this is electrical precision, right? That when you are designing an actuator, you should be very careful about the power required by the actuator. If you give low power, it will run at a lower speed. If you give high power, it may run at a faster speed, or it may be even burnt out. So apart from the electrical perspective, because motor is a mechanical thing, now tell me the technical aspect of a mechanical motor. What is the
So its rotation speed must be constant. That
RPM?
is, yes, sir.
RPM. It should be constant. Can you give me an example now? If can you give me an example where if the RPM is wrong, okay, even by a small amount, that may bring a catastrophic destruction.
in watches?
Sir, fan sealing.
Wait. Watches में RPM अगर ऊपर नीचे हो जाए तो time will go wrong. It is not going to bring a catastrophic disaster in your life. Might be possible, huh?
Sir, in the
Car,
vibration of the phone.
So here,
Sir, ceiling fan.
self-driving car.
It's the vibration in the phone.
Okay.
tire of car.
Tire of car, speed will increase
Sir,
or decrease.
electricity
में
generation में जब
line.
turbines and all those use होते हैं तब.
Yeah.
Ceiling fan.
Have you heard of this thing, this term, ventilators?
Yes, sir.
क्या होता है ventilators?
Life supporting machine.
A supporting machine which gives oxygen to a patient. That means it actually, when the lungs are too weak to inhale or exhale, we connect ventilators. This was the one of the biggest issue during the second wave of pandemic, right?
Yes, sir.
Lack of ventilators in India. This was one of the biggest
Yes, sir.
issue. And ventilators cost somewhere around 10 lakh. Okay, to you can go to 50 lakh, 1 crore, and so on. Minimum, I think that they cost somewhere around 10 lakh rupees. And basically, they are nothing but calibrated motors. Calibrated motors which inhale or sucks some amount of oxygen and pushes some amount of oxygen to the patient. Right? There will be some cylinders, okay, oxygen cylinder, and which will have one wall which is going towards the patient, okay, towards the patient, and then there will be this is your ventilator, right? So one wall going towards the patient and the other valve exhaling the CO2 from the patient. So this is oxygen and this. Now the question is, if there is a motor here, okay, which actually controls the amount of oxygen coming towards the patient and the amount of oxygen taken out from the patient, okay, because his lung is not enough strong enough to control the breathing process. So just imagine, even if there is a small error in the RPM or in the pressure that this motor is generating, the patient's lungs will rupture out, right? The lungs are not that strong enough, and patient to patient, fat person, thin person, diabetic person, or any other medical related issue having those kind of issues with the person. So how this ventilator is going to handle all such patients, provide them perfect amount of oxygen needed, and without hurting the lungs of a person. So now can you imagine how a small motor started its journey from a motor to ventilator, and its price rised from some few thousand rupees to lakhs and lakhs of rupees. The rest of the electronic stuffs and all those stuffs that can be designed by anyone. But this part, that means controlling the motor for different kind of patients. Otherwise, what will happen? You will be designing a ventilator, but it will be actually a killing machine. Now you see why we need precise actuators. This is one example where you can kill a person. I can give you a second example. How many of you have seen vending machine? This is a simple, a light mooded example. Okay, vending machine,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Where you put your money and you get a Coca-Cola or some chips out of that machine. Assume again there is a motor inside that machine also, which actually rotates and brings the item or the product outward, right? If the motor is having some issue, or if it is not precisely calibrated, if it goes for a higher number of rotation, you will get 2 Coca-Colas out of by paying only one. Or might be possible if you are bad in if you are having a bad day, you will put the money and the motor will rotate half of the part of the journey, and then you will not get the Coca-Cola. Understood? So now again you see how it can become a big trouble for a wrong or actuator which is not precisely working. For that kind of motors or that kind of activities, we need very good embedded system, an engineer who knows the motors, who knows the technical terms, who knows the science behind it, and who knows how to program all this system. And suddenly the same motor which was before maybe 500 or 1000 rupees went up to some lakhs of rupees, because he generated good display, good APIs, good interface for the nurses, or he designed a very beautiful vending machine which never generates an erroneous program, or he always gives right amount of, for example, the amount of rotation needed for a chocolate and the amount of rotation needed for a Coca-Cola, or the amount of rotation needed for a potato chips packet, they all are different. How they precisely control these things, we should know these things also. So therefore, precise actuator is one of the most important part of any embedded systems. Of course, then of course it comes the intelligence. Intelligence is always needed. You cannot, any embedded system should be intelligent, and the intelligence keeps on growing with respect to time, because the product always evolves, right? So intelligence is needed. And then a system which should be capable, versatile, robust in performance. Versatile means you should be able to change the program time to time. It should be robust. It should work for longer time period, maybe for year, 2 year, or 5 year, 10 year. And robust means the wear and tear should be low. It should work in all temperatures. It should work in all humidity. It should be, if you are designing something for defense or something, it should be waterproof, and all those stuff should be there. So robustness can be taken in so many different ways, which means hard and strong design, right? So all these things makes an embedded system. If we talk about the block diagram, first thing that comes to our mind is a good processor. So choice of a processor is very important. So engineer should know why he is choosing a processor, which kind of processor, how long this processor can support his company, or whether you are going for very expensive processor, because when you are talking about millions of devices, right, even a wrong choice of processor may cost, suppose you are spending only $5 extra for a processor, but if you are making 1 million products or 1 million copies of the product, so it will cost you 5 million rupees extra. So the amount increases exponentially. And secondly, if it is not versatile, or if it is not able to provide you service for a long time period, then you are wasting your money for just choosing a wrong processor. So choosing a good processor, which is the barest minimum requirement, which satisfies your project's requirement, then of course you need to have a very decent power supply. Because if the power supply itself is fluctuating, or it is giving you wrong values or something, it may destroy the system, because overall system's performance depends on a decent power supply. If it is requiring 5 volt, means 5 volt. It should not be 4.5 volt, because ADCs, everything will get affected by this 5 volt. Right? So the reference will change. And if it is fluctuating, or if the power supply cannot take enough load, then gone. Your project is good for nothing. So third part, you should have decent memory to write a program. Keep the variables in that memory. So you have to have enough space in the memory to write a decent program. Okay. So memory is one very important aspect. Okay. Then you have to have decent sensors, well calibrated sensors in your embedded system. Then actuators, like I said, the motors and all. Then of course, intelligent communication systems, where you can communicate with the external world, be it wirelessly or wired. Okay, communication can be of two types. It can be wired, or it can be wireless. When it comes to wireless, there are so many protocols which we can follow, but anyway, wired also. So we will look into this aspect in the later part of this course, communication interfaces and all. So all these things together, everything designed in a very proper way will give you a decent embedded system. And you can work in any of this part. You can be only working on the sensors part and you can get a decent job. You can be working only in the actuators, calibrating the actuators, understanding the actuators. You can get into a job. You can even just design good power supplies and you can get a decent job. You can even design communication protocols, make networks, and you can get a good decent job. So there are plenty of enough jobs available in the market which are only focused on a certain area like this. For example, now Tesla, right? Company like Tesla is famous mostly because of its power supply. The batteries that they are developing are out of box. They are cutting edge technologies. They are state of art. Most of the companies are suffering because they are not good enough to design that kind of batteries. So Tesla is focusing mostly on the power supply section. Of course, then they are working in AI and all, but power supply is one of the major area of research in their group. So you can have enough job in every sector. Okay, so what is a microcontroller, and which microcontroller is correct for your project, and when to use it? Of course, you need a microprocessor to design an intelligent system. So whenever you need an intelligent system, you need microcontroller or microprocessor. But because this course is about microcontrollers mostly, we will be talking about microcontrollers. So you need intelligence, you need to write programs, you need microcontrollers. Microcontrollers are used because they can reduce the complexity of a system. Right? Why I'm telling you it can reduce the complexity of a system? For example, many of you can design a half adder, right? Half adder. For that, you may need some XOR gates, AND gate, or so on, and you can integrate them and it can become half adder. So half adder, or even if you want, you can go for a full adder, right? Which adds the carry bit also. Assume it needs 4 gates, and this full adder is for 3-bit input. Okay, input 3 bits. But suppose someone comes and says, no, I want a full adder which should have 8 gates, or which should, he is not giving you the gates, number of gates. He just says, I need 8-bit full adder. all of a sudden your task becomes very cumbersome, tiring, and very hectic, because you are only focusing on the hardware part. So whereas using microcontrollers can reduce such complexities and delays in developing a new project, because you can just program it in a much more intelligent way, and the microcontroller can help you to sort out the problems. So it reduces the complexity. And of course, cost of microcontroller is less than using discrete components in that same job. Then you should go for a microcontroller. Discrete components, for example, I give you a simple example. Suppose someone comes to you and say, Ki, I need a square wave generator, okay, and it should be on for 500 millisecond and off for 500 millisecond. So can you give me a solution? कि मेरे को एक केवल स्क्वायर वेव जनरेटर चाहिए जो 500 मिलीसेकंड ऑन रहता है एंड 500 मिलीसेकंड ऑफ रहता है. तो which one will be your solution? What you are going to suggest me to achieve this particular goal? Any device?
Some multivibrators.
You can use multivibrators by using 555 timer, right? And the same thing you can generate timers. Okay, you can generate this kind of waveform using maybe more complex circuitries using different gates, right? And you can even generate the same square wave using a microcontroller. So now the question is, which one will be the most suitable solution? Of course, the 555 timer, because 555 timer will cost you maybe 10 rupees or 8 or 10 rupees, and you can generate this particular square wave, and it is easy to generate. So now discrete components, because timer is a discrete component. So now in this case, discrete components price is less than the microcontroller, because microcontroller in the market, if you go, may cost you somewhere around Rs 100 minimum, right? Whereas this one will cost you Rs 10, and it is not that difficult to develop a circuit around it. So your target or your job is satisfied or fulfilled. At the same time, you are reducing the cost of the project. So in such case, we should not be going for microcontrollers, because the discrete components price is less. But many a times it becomes very difficult. So suppose tomorrow the designer or the customer comes to you and says, no, I want a system which should generate a waveform like this. That means 50 millisecond, 500 millisecond, 5 second, and so on. He gives you a function that, okay, my waveform should be like this. Now it is not possible to develop or design a system that easily using a 555 timer. It is not going to give you this kind of waveform very easily. Now you need many other components, many other algorithms, many other discrete components to design this solution, right? Now in such case, you can go for a microcontroller, right? So it is the designer's perspective and his intelligence. He should check all the aspects, all the possible solutions, and then only he should go for a microcontroller. Okay. Of course, when you want to connect different sensors and actuators with some intelligence, then it is better to go for a microcontroller, because most of the times op-amps and all those stuffs are not that intelligent enough to integrate all these kind of sensors and actuators. Okay, for small jobs, okay, you can go for op-amps also, but it is not possible to give too much intelligence to that kind of circuitries. So avoid such circuitries if you need intelligent systems. So microcontroller will be a good choice. Communication with other devices is necessary. Whenever you have to communicate with the external world, most of the time you will find that discrete components or designing a circuit using discrete components will be very difficult. So go for microcontroller. So these are the solutions and on these kind of basic information, you choose a particular or an appropriate microcontroller. Okay. When to avoid a microcontroller? Okay, choice of microcontroller is good, but when we should avoid it? Just opposite. Microcontroller is not good when the system requires little or almost no intelligence. Okay, when you don't have to program or generate some intelligence, avoid it. It is not good to go for a microcontroller. Or if you can design a system which is easier to develop and cheaper using discrete component, avoid the microcontroller. Just it is not that you should always go for the microcontrollers only. Okay, and microcontroller is undersized the problem. That means you don't need a microcontroller to solve a small for example 3-bit adder, something like that. You don't need a microcontroller for that. Okay, and when these are normal aspects, but above that, when you need to have huge number crunching or processing, like video processing, audio processing, okay, or any other kind of signal processing. So if you need to have processing related job rather than controlling related job, if you need more processing related job, go for microprocessors. Okay, microprocessors rather than going for microcontrollers, because this is one of the biggest issue between the even some many a times the engineers, they think that okay, we should go for Raspberry Pi, right? Raspberry Pi, or you may go for BeagleBone board, okay, or any other Galileo and so on. These are mostly used for processing. Okay, you should not always jump to these boards because these are costly or because this can do lots of mathematics for you. No, sometimes microcontrollers are more helping hand, or they are cheaper, they are faster in many of the tasks also, or easier to program also many a times. Whereas these kind of hardwares like BeagleBone, Raspberry Pi, Galileo, okay, you should use them when you need to process the data, when you have huge amount of data, okay, when you have very big program which is doing some processing related job, then only go for these boards. ऐसा नहीं है कि you should always go for Raspberry Pi, or you should always go for Arduino, or you should always go for TI. This choice, you should know which one to use. Okay, so this is very important, and we can learn it how to choose a particular microcontroller. This is very important. Okay, so if I talk about the microcontrollers concept map, okay, embedded systems concept map, we will have to have a good decent power supply. That power should come to an interface which should be taking data from the user, maybe sensors or something, and a controller hardware plus software. Okay, that will be going to the power supplies, and then the power supply will give control to actuators. That means start or stop the motors. And if this particular actuator needs some control or feedback kind of systems, then we should have a system which should provide feedback and control of the motor and all. So the feedback should go to the actuator, and then it should be gone for the signal conditioner. I will tell you why signal conditioners are important. And then again back to the core. So this is a feedback loop which actually always try to control the system and always makes the system better. Apart from that, sometimes it is necessary to use different power sources also. One power source for microcontroller, another power source for actuators or motors or so on. Okay, so in that case, you may have to have more than one power supply also, which may control many other different blocks. So in this way, you can have more number of power supplies, more number of actuators, signal conditioner blocks. So mostly you will be moving around these main blocks, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 different blocks needed for your project. Okay, so all these things you should know. Then only you can design a good embedded system.
So,
Hmm.
so what is power interface? It is something like relays.
Yeah, for example, let me give a simple example, right? Okay. You have studied about transistors, right? I have a motor with me which requires 5 volt and assume 1 ampere. Okay, so in terms of power it needs 5 watt, right? Clear? So you go to a market. When you go to market to buy a motor, most of the times we specify the wattage. Okay, for that I can have a switch like this and then a motor, ground, right? This is one solution. So if I make the switch, it will start rotating the motor. If I break the switch, it will stop the motor. This solution was good. Then why I needed transistor? Transistor is also a switch. Can you give me the answer why we need transistor instead of this particular switch? Anyone? Transistor or MOSFETs? Why we need transistors instead of this particular switch? किसी के दिमाग में आया ये क्वेश्चन आज तक? Okay, I can draw the circuit for the transistor based motor controller.
So we can logically control that.
Wait a second, okay. Motor 5 volt, okay, 1 ampere. What were they saying? Switching time is faster. No. Switching तो भाई हाथ से भी कर सकते हैं, यहाँ से भी
control it remotely as well.
हैं?
And we can control it remotely.
This one is also, you can keep the switch at your home. It is not needed. Now the same switch is here. You see, the same switch is here as W. No. Can you tell me why we need to have this particular circuitry?
So to reduce the intermediary resistance, maybe.
Reduce the intermediary resistance. Where is the resistance? Here in this circuit, you have direct 5 volt, 1 ampere. The motor runs happily. The motor does not have any issues. Any other reason? Guess. Put your guess. Why we need transistors? Itna transistor we have studied about transistors in many different courses.
So because of amplification, we can provide less power and can get a better result.
No, the motor needs 5 watt.
Sir, to protect the motor.
Yes, sir. To protect the motor, sir. Direct current can affect.
Direct.
No, here you can see the source can only provide you 5 volt, 1 ampere. Right, 5 watt. And 5 watt is the rating of the motor also. So how can the 5 volt, 1 ampere destroy the motor if it is within the specification? No. Okay, here also the motor is running with 5 volt, 1 ampere, and here you are using the switch only. You're not removing the switch from the circuit, are you?
Sir, to control the RPM of the motor.
Assume I want to run the motor at its maximum speed. 5 ampere, 5 volt, 1 ampere, it is running at 500 RPM. Here also it is running at 500 RPM. Okay, let me give you the answer. Here, this switch, okay, or this switch. Here you need a person or a mechanical pressure to turn the switch on and off. Whereas, and of course, the switch should be of the same rating, and of course here also the same rating, the switch should support 5 watt. But otherwise, if I remove this part, okay, with the transistor, what I can do here is I don't need high power to run or to activate the switch. Now I can just take a microcontroller or a 555 timer, okay, or a low power device, right? Low power device like a microcontroller or 555 timer or microprocessor, something like that, and I can just connect that to the terminal of that microcontroller or microprocessor, which actually generates 5 volt and maybe 10 milliamp, right? Still, with this 5 volt 10 milliamp or maybe 2 volt 10 milliamp, I can activate this motor. With a very low voltage, I can activate this motor. And this transistor, okay, is actually protecting this microcontroller also, because there is no current which flows towards this direction. You know this thing, right? No current flows towards the base. There is no such current which moves towards the base. So the current only flows mostly in this direction, only in this direction, right? So this is how transistor is helping us to control a very high power device with a very low power input, very low power input. Understood why we needed a transistor? So with a very small power, input power, I can control a very heavy power devices without destroying my low power device. So now if you can see, that means this transistor is working as an interface or working as a, see, it can be divided into two parts, low power, right, and a high power device, right? So low power section and high power section. So this is why we generally use transistors or MOSFETs. With a very small power, we can connect and control this thing. At the same time, like someone said, of course, with the microcontroller, I can generate a PWM or a low voltage also. I can change the voltage here by using PWM techniques. And I can control the speed also. Here you cannot control the speed. Suppose you need 300 RPM, right? For that, you can just decrease the voltage here at the base, and you can decrease the current which comes to the collector, and you can control the speed, right? So now you have so many features: control the speed, control the current, and of course without destroying the low power device. So you can have low power section, high power section totally separated. Understood? This is what transistor can help you. But unfortunately, you are not in the lab. Otherwise, I could have shown you why it is so beautiful device for switching. Right now, I think we should end the lecture here. And in the next lecture, we will be moving to check what are the things which are required, and then, of course, some examples. And then, yeah, we will continue the journey from here. In the embedded system, why it is so important to know all these aspects, and then embedded C's and all those stuff. Okay, any question for this lecture?